everyone. This is American Dreammakers. Welcome. I am Zena Krogadal, your American Dreammakers host. And what an amazing day it is today, the day before Thanksgiving. And let me tell you, I am so thankful for each and every one of you who have supported me and my journey with American Dreammakers and all the things that I've been involved with. So I just want to give a big shout out to all of you who have been such an incredible part of my life, and I have so much gratitude for you. What are you thankful for today? I want to make sure that we all just get a moment to just express our gratitude. So if you are watching live, please go ahead and share this out. I would be so grateful for you to do so. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe on my YouTube channel. I am certainly there. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. I'd love to connect with you. So yeah, let us know that you're here in the comments. I have a very special guest today for this Thanksgiving edition because, gratitude is such an incredible place to be in for our life and for the things that are happening in our life and the people that are in it. And today I am very grateful for our guest that I'm bringing on today. And her name is Martha Novak. And she has published a new book, which we are going to talk about a little bit later here on the show. But let me tell you a little bit about Martha. Martha has published 2 niche market books of nonfiction, The Life You Want and the Teacup Prophecies. The latter is a book, but also an app for iPhones. She is a corporate coach specializing in empowering human potential. National magazines such as Fast Company have highlighted her as someone who brings out significant and pioneering transformations. She is also a therapist. As a screenwriter and playwright, she has written for Scholastic and PBS and was runner-up in the SE Theater Conference's New Play Project. She is also an actor, a theater director, a dialogue, accent coach for movies, and a voice talent. Her experience includes hosting a radio show called Real Talk with Martha Novak on Blog Talk Radio, and her radio shows are posted all over YouTube. So you absolutely can find Miss Martha Novak. If you have not connected with her, absolutely do so. So without further ado, let's bring on Martha. Hello, Martha.
Hi, Zena. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. Thank you so much, darling. Thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, thank you so much for being here, especially the day before Thanksgiving. I know it's busy getting ready to be thankful with family and friends and all of that. And Martha, the other day when we spoke on the phone, I was really excited because I learned that you live in the mountains of North Carolina, and I'm about to move to North Carolina. And
I know you're about to be my neighbor, about 3.5 hours away, which is nothing up here, by the way. We go everywhere, We used to complain in Atlanta if something took 20 minutes, but here it takes 2 hours and we just go anyway. It's an adventure.
It's an adventure for sure. And my husband and I actually had the privilege of being in that area earlier this year, actually in wintertime, if you can believe it. We were brave enough to come in the wintertime. It's so majestic, the mountains that you live in.
Oh, it's beautiful. And the wintertime is one of my favorite seasons. With the leaves off the trees, you can see so much further. It's just absolutely beautiful up here. We have a lot of fun in the winter, and you're very brave to come up here in the winter. And I think those of us that live here year round really do put forth the fact that we live in a terribly cold place. It's just awful. Oh, you wouldn't want to bring your 7 children up here in the winter, and that way we can keep the population down a little bit. The truth is, it's very moderate up here, and it's just comfortable all year round. A little cold here and there, but that's about it.
Yeah, the well-kept secret, and you want to keep it secret. I understand.
There you go.
Totally understand. Well, Martha, I'm excited to have you here today. And
Thank
as I was
you.
reading your bio, wow, you are a woman with many hats and many talents. That's
Well,
just
thanks.
amazing. So I'd like for you to kind of take us back to, where your inspiration has started. I mean, you've authored several books. So obviously there's been some life experience and love experience and those kinds of experiences that have brought you to be inspired to write books, whether they're nonfiction or fiction books. There's always an inspiration behind it. So I'd love to hear about Martha. Where did you actually grow up? And
Yeah.
yeah, tell us.
Well, I grew up in Atlanta, and I also, in my early years, spent time in New York City when my dad was a CPA, and he was with a firm up there, Pete Marwick. And then my parents thought, well, New York is no place for a child. After I ate every cigarette butt that was dropped on the ground in Central Park, apparently. So the story goes. And they brought me back to Atlanta. My mother's family was from Atlanta, so that's the natural place to have ended up.
Wow.
So yeah, so I grew up here, and I also grew up on the plateau, in these mountains, these Appalachian Mountains. Every summer, we would come up here because my father traveled, and my grandmother would bring us up here, and we'd stay all summer at one of the old hotels, which, by the way, were all wood, and they've all burned down, the ones that I'm talking about. We have two left, but Lee's Inn, King's Inn, and Highlands Manor all burned to the ground. And I didn't have anything to do with that, by the way. And I was a kid, but didn't. And so we would stay up here until I was about 13, 14 years old, at which time my dad bought a house. And we were in the Highlands for many, many years, but 30 something years. And I grew up with all these stories of these mountains and these folkloric traditions and legends and conjure people and people that, were quite backhill people that I just adored. And it was loads of fun.
Wow. I bet that was loads of fun. And thinking of, back growing up in the mountain like that, like you said, just kind of very close knit community usually is what it is.
Well,
right?
it was and it wasn't, because a lot of these people were summer residents. We certainly were. But Highlands, before it became quite the tourist spot now, was very different in the old days. First of all, you could find a place to park on Main Street, which was, you can't now. But we also had a lot of artists up here and a lot of interesting people. One of the women that came every year was Helen Keller's sister, a very, very patrician looking woman. And I was just fascinated with her and loved her stories. So she was reading all the time. So I thought she was a pretty special human being.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And then that's quite a contrast being in Atlanta. So you were in the actual city of Atlanta, not necessarily outside of Atlanta?
Oh, no, we were always outside of it. I'm not a real city person, so we were always in the suburbs. And but about 10 years ago, my husband is Austrian, by the way, Zena, and he thought he might want to live on a lake. He didn't tell me this until about several years into our marriage. And so we started looking, and I always had this particular place in mind, and brought him up here last after he'd seen everything else, and he fell in love with it. This area very much reminds you of certain parts of Austria. So he just adored it. So that's really how we got up here permanently. And that was about 9 or 10 years ago. And then we just stayed and found less and less use to go back to the city. And so we sold the house and moved up here.
Wow. Very cool. That's so exciting. And I'm like you. I've not ever been like a metro city kind of gal. I grew up in a mountain town as well, Flagstaff, Arizona.
Oh, did you? That's interesting.
Yes, yes. And so the mountains always call me. I mean, I love the beaches too, but there's something about the mountains that's so peaceful and calming and inspirational.
It's wonderful. It absolutely is wonderful, unless we have a hurricane like Helene. We used to think, honestly, Zena, that we were very immune to hurricanes and tornadoes and things. But with the weather changing, we have found we had 2 hurricanes in the spring. I mean, not hurricanes, tornadoes in the spring, small ones, but they did about 6 miles worth of damage up here. So it's really shocking, this weather that we're having now. We used to have really violent thunderstorms when I was a kid, but I don't remember anything like what we're having these days.
So interesting. Hi, Cynthia. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Cynthia. Hi, darling. How are you?
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, Cynthia. What
Absolutely.
Are you doing for Thanksgiving, Cynthia? Martha, speaking
Yes.
of Thanksgiving, I do want to get back to your story a little bit, but speaking of Thanksgiving, I know we can hear the dog, in the back just wanting to have some fun here.
Okay.
And I think that's great. That you're getting ready for Thanksgiving. You've got friends, you've got your pets, and they're all excited. So just tell me just a little glimpse. I know usually traditional Thanksgiving, we have turkey, mashed potatoes and stuffing and all that good stuff. Is there anything that you particularly love to do for Thanksgiving that other people do not have on their table?
Well, this coming Christmas is really special for us because Michael's daughter and son, who are Austrian, everybody's Austrian, are coming from Vienna, Austria to see us. So they like a traditional Thanksgiving spread, with a big turkey, and my son-in-law is a gourmet cook. So, but he said, I'm going to leave the turkey to you. So I'm a good turkey cooker. I can do that. But we will do a big blowout then. So I decided not to do a big blowout for Thanksgiving. We're going to have brisket, and we're picking up some brisket, because brisket's hard to cook, I think, and it takes a long time. So we're picking it from a local smokehouse. So I'm doing it pretty easy this time. But I have a funny story about an American fair. When I first married Michael, his mama pronounced, and she's very Teutonic, right? She's dear, but very Teutonic. She's 102, by the way. Anyway, wow. she said, Martha is going to fix Christmas dinner for all of us. And so I said, okay. There are a lot of things in Austria you cannot get, like candied yams and various things. So I packed our suitcases with things I didn't think I would be able to get. We had to go to a turkey farm to get a turkey. They don't have turkeys in the grocery stores. Well, I fixed what they didn't tell me, because she wanted an American fare. I fixed the candied yam with a lot of bourbon and cons in it, and covered it in marshmallows. Mother had never seen a marshmallow in her life. And nobody told me that in Austria, you do not mix something sweet with meat. You don't do that. That is a no-no. So she ragged me for 2 years about that. She said that I had committed the worst flaw. She had forgotten that she'd asked for an American fare. Well, the funny story is, a year later, I contributed to Christmas dinner again, and I fixed a salad, and I wanted it to be real special. So we put hearts of palm, cut up hearts of palm in it. And at one point, she speared one of the hearts of palm and held it out on her fork and said, "What's this?" And all of us, the whole family, went, "A marshmallow." So we got her comeuppance. I thought that was hilarious. So anyway, that is something she never forgave me for. But anyway,
well,
and everybody enjoyed it. So what the heck?
What the heck? And it made it memorable. Obviously, a memorable holiday for everybody. And it is so much fun to blend the cultures, don't you think? I mean,
Oh, yes. I love this about our country, don't you?
Yes, absolutely. So how did you meet your husband then?
Well, my husband was a friend of mine 50 years before. He was in love with my college best friend, whose name was Barbara. And Barbara and I just adored each other, and she took her junior year abroad and fell in love with Michael. But when we were all 20 years old, she called me about 5 days before she was supposed to graduate, because she came back to graduate here. And she said, Martha, I can't explain this. I've got to go. I have to see Michael. I have to go, and I have to go now. I've called a cab. I'm going to the airport. I was floored. It's like, what do you say? You go, okay, no problem. Call me when you get here. Let me know how you are. We were supposed to see each other that summer. And I think we were meeting in Ireland or someplace. So 5 days later, we were all very innocent back then. And 5 days later, she was staying in a boarding house. Michael was in his apartment. And she went down the hall about midnight to wash her hair. She was an epileptic and she fell into the bathtub and drowned.
Oh, no.
It just was unbelievable. And so at 20 years old, Michael and I experienced that. Her stepbrother, whom I went to high school with, experienced that. Her dad, who only died 2 or 3 years ago at 102 years old. Wow. It was horrible. And there were a lot of things around it that we didn't understand. But when Michael and I finally got together, he gave me a piece of the puzzle. I gave him a piece of the puzzle. Her brother came into town and has stayed with us several times, her stepbrother, and he's given us a piece of the puzzle. So it finally is at peace within us. But we carried that for many, many years, that unsettled, what the hell happened to us at 20 years old, and to our precious friend. So
wow, incredible.
So
wow.
we communicated that way about Barbara, and then his school started sending him over here, and we became friends. It wasn't anything romantic back then, but he married someone else. I married someone else, and then his wife died, and I was divorced, and we found each other on LinkedIn of all things.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank God for social media. It's
well, I'm telling you, I have, as buffaloed as I am sometimes by it, I am very grateful for it at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cynthia says, what fun. Michael's family coming for Thanksgiving from Vienna, Austria. Yes, enjoy.
Yeah, they're coming for Christmas. It's not Thanksgiving, but we're so excited about having them. And I'll finally get a big tree. He'll do it for his daughter. He won't do it for me because they've gotten so expensive. But we'll put up a big tree this year.
There's something about daughters. I used to say that to my husband all the time. Like, why is it that when our daughter asks you for things, you say yes right away? But when I ask you for things, it's either a no right away or you have to think about it.
Well, Zena, yes, I agree with you about that. But it isn't his daughter. It's his dog. We have a new little puppy that is named Pipsy Rosalie, and Pipsy Rosalie can do absolutely no wrong.
Oh, I see.
I am always wrong, but Pipsy, no.
That's awesome. So I want to go back just a little bit here. So you also are a therapist.
Yes.
And so did you go to school in Atlanta then, or did you end up going to school somewhere else?
Well, I didn't go to school for what I do. Isn't that interesting? This kind of therapy came out of my own self-growth work and my acting training, which I did go to school for. And it is an energy-based system that takes people by adjusting their energy to peak performance every time where they do their best work. It is a very calm center and a very high energy, and it's a cellular energy that we work from, and a whole brain experience. And so I found a way to do that just from my being an actor and asking questions about why things worked and didn't work, and watching people on different levels. I was exposed to a really interesting set of truths about performance when I was growing up.
How interesting. You were a very astute observer and a student of life, it sounds like.
Well, I've always been curious. Maybe that's my virtue, and that I ask questions. I ask the right questions. I told Cynthia that on her show one time that I remember an adult actor coming off the stage and saying to the woman behind me and another adult, and I was a child, dull audience tonight. And somehow I knew it wasn't the audience, it was our performance and what we were doing. And so, I'd ask questions like that, and through the years found the answers to them. And it all has to do with how we are working our own energies to be listened to be heard, to lead, and to care about others. So, it's a question of whether we are working from our ego and our ego child's mind that has us perceiving as a child, or our adult selves, which is the loving global self. And so I take people from the child's mind self to the global self. That's what I do. And that's why people become more authentic and reach their potentials. We have a lot of fun.
That's fantastic. I'm so glad that you're out there helping others to reach their potential and to
Well, you're doing the same thing, Miss Zena, and so is Cynthia. Everybody's doing the same kind of work. That's why we've got a sisterhood going on here for sure.
We do. And it's so important to surround ourselves with people who are just as authentic in wanting to help other people,
Yes.
wanting to help other people reach a place where I guess it comes back to, for me, I know I have that desire because I've had people in my life that have reached out and helped me become the better version of me. And so I want to pay it forward and help others do the same thing.
Absolutely. We're not alone in this world. And that's something I think enormous, that we can be enormously grateful for. We're all, when we are children, so self-absorbed, as we should be. But at one point in our adulthood, we're supposed to drop that and realize we are part of a greater whole. And everyone is helping everyone else. If they're in that right mind, you know?
Absolutely. So now, so you are a therapist, you are an actress, playwright. I mean, my goodness, you are very gifted and creative. And so you've authored several books, and your newest one is called Blood Mountain.
Yes, it is. It's a mystery thriller too. So I have switched genres on this book, and having a marvelous time doing it. And it's gotten a great reception. So I'm really grateful.
Yeah. And I want to put on here bloodmountainbook.com. And actually, I'm going to bring up the website for a little bit. So while I'm bringing this screen up, tell us just a little bit about why you switched the genres and what was the inspiration behind this.
Well, I think I don't know whether I have switched permanently, but I would like to continue to write in the genre. I'm having so much fun. Hang on a minute. I can reach this book and show you what it looks like. If you'd like, it's this, because there's several blood mountains out there apparently, but that's the one with that kind of iconic house on it. I took that picture of that house and then I sent it to Ken Walls and his wife Jill, and she's the one that did this gorgeous cover. Isn't that beautiful?
She does an amazing job.
She did an amazing job. It's just really striking. So I think that I probably would not have. I've always wondered, what should I write? What should I write? I'd love to write fiction. How fun to write fiction. I would love to do that because I love puzzles. And I love the mystery thriller genre particularly. And I like it because the world is wacky. You know it is. And I just like to create a good puzzle and always have the miscreants caught at the end in one fantastic way or another. And it's my way of, I guess, controlling a little part of the craziness, So there are two things you can count on. The miscreants will get their just desserts and no animals will be harmed. That's what you can count on in my books, and hopefully a good story. I think it was inspiring me, Zena, to move up here to answer your question. It was moving up here that that created all this. And I thought, I have worlds to write about in these mountains. I couldn't think of anything to write about in Atlanta, but by gosh, up here, I'll never be finished.
It's amazing. I believe, being in the in a place of inspiration, how much creativity can happen.
Oh yeah.
Cynthia says, Zena Krogadal's interview with the marvelous Martha Novak. Have you read Blood Mountain? Oh, she's advertising it. It'll bring you to a whole new level of gratitude and peace. Oh,
thank you, Cynthia. That's so sweet of you. That was a surprising result of this book. I've heard it from several people because one woman, there are two protagonists in this book, and one of them has quite the rough life. It is a life of terrific sacrifice and a mother's love. And I don't want to give away too much, but I think everybody has come away now from the book going, oh, thank God that's not me. So.
Well, and so they can go on Amazon. People can go on Amazon to purchase it. Can they also purchase it off of bloodmountainbook.com?
Yes, I think so. I really don't know that, having not purchased off bloodmountainbook.com, but certainly Amazon has it. And I appreciate very much you all going to Amazon. It's a hardback, and I just showed you the hardback, but the paperback looks very similar to that. And there's a Kindle edition, and Ken, my publisher, has not taken off the 99-cent Kindle edition. So that is the buy of the century. So
yes,
by all means, go on and get that on your Kindle if you have a Kindle. I understand we had a little problem in the beginning because people were trying to do this on their phones or their tablets, and you've got to go to your desktop or laptop, I think, to order it through Amazon. And that'll get you right there. And I hope you all will enjoy it. The book also makes, if you don't mind my blatantly advertising this, it's a great Christmas present. I think everybody who enjoys reading or a great book will enjoy this. And I'll be doing an Audible version of this, but probably it'll be out in the spring because I've got yet to record it.
Wow, that's great. No, I'm definitely ordering some copies for family members who love the mystery thrillers.
Well, and it certainly will. It's very atmospheric, so it'll certainly tell them the part of the country you're moving to, girlfriend.
Yeah. Okay. So they'll really want to read it then, right?
They will. They'll say, oh my God. I mean, there was a bear on my porch the other day and a deer standing there looking in the window at my poodle the other day. I mean, it's so much fun to be up here with all these animals,
Yeah, I bet that is so fun to be up there and just being part of the wilderness, the nature and all of that. And so very cool. And how long have you been there full time in the mountain there?
I want to say we bought the first house. We're in a different house now. We moved to a little larger house. Being Michael was born in Vienna, Austria, downtown Vienna. You talk about an urban boy. That was Michael. I was, I preferred the rural life. And this is an odd way of living up here. I think we bought that first house in maybe 16, if I'm not mistaken, 2016. And it was just a matter of we bought a smaller house because I wanted Michael to see that the summers and the winters are completely different. There's a big influx of people up here on the plateau in April and May. A lot of my friends come back and they stay until the leaves change and then they go. And so the winters are kind of dead. Good time to write, do podcasts and things like that if you have internet, which we didn't for a long time. But it's better now. So we do have all that. But it is a different way of living. It's not like you see everyone all year long. Of course, now we have our friends that are here all year long. But it's rather a different life. It's a little jarring in the spring when everybody comes back. You go, whoa, because you're used to being quiet and everything being very subdued.
Yeah, I bet.
And it's not that in the summer.
Not that in the summer, huh? Yeah, Vienna, Austria, absolutely a great place, to be visit. I'm sure a great place to grow up.
I
For him.
think Michael loved it. It was such a big thing for him to join me over here, but I'm so glad he did. And he's enjoying the heck out of it too. He loves America and he loves this country. It's just, and this place, it's just so magnificent. It's just beautiful all the time and interesting and unusual.
Yeah. Well, definitely everyone go to bloodmountainbook.com. Check out Martha's website. Check it out and then order her book. It sounds amazing. As Cynthia said, I don't think Cynthia put it down. I remember seeing Cynthia's like, I can't put this book down. So
thank you. A lot of people have said that, which I'm just thrilled about. I went in my darling pet store yesterday, and I walked in, and one of the girls in there, who's a very close friend of mine, was reading the book and had me sign it, of course, and all that. And she said, I'm just so resentful for the first time in my life of all the people that want to buy things for their pets. I want to finish the book. So actually that made me feel very good. So yeah,
that is, and
it's rather a page turner.
And it's an Amazon bestseller.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And it was number 20 on Amazon's list of hot new releases. Now, that is big because I came from zero. Nobody knows who I am. So that was a big deal.
Well, they know who you are. You've authored a couple of other books as well.
Well, I have, but that's a completely different genre, and so they didn't know me in this field, but I hope they will, because I'd love to write more books like this.
Got it. So your previous books then, what genre were those in?
Well, they were what they call niche market. Niche market means that there's not a very wide audience for those. I mean, after all, it's on deeper levels of consciousness. Those books are supposed to challenge your old way of thinking. Sometimes people don't like to be challenged. So there was a small group of people that I think were interested in, the esoteric journey that you're obviously on, Zena, and Cynthia's on, and I'm on, and all of us are trying to, be the best that we can possibly be and transcend the ego child's mind. So that's why they were niche market. I published them myself because I knew I wasn't going to find a publisher. A publisher these days is interested in selling a lot of books. And so, a murder mystery or a mystery thriller like I've just written is a much more likely candidate for that than something that is on consciousness,
though, it's an interesting point you bring up. And I'd like to tackle this just a little bit. Because I'm with you. I'm probably an oddball. I'm one of the few percentage, but I prefer to read to learn and grow. I actually don't prefer to read for entertainment. That doesn't mean that I haven't read for entertainment. My preference is, but what you're saying is that the majority of people actually want to read for entertainment, not necessarily for the personal growth.
Yes. So and the interesting thing is, excuse me for interrupting, darling. I just wanted to make the point of, because of who I am, no matter what I'm writing, the protagonist is always going to have a huge arc of personal growth. It's just who I am. I can't write something without that theme of them growing to a deeper understanding of who they are and what they're here to do. So, to me, that is the thing that unites all my work.
That's beautiful. And I'm so glad that you stated that, because it's not pure entertainment. If your readers are going to read Blood Mountain Book, they are going to have personal growth. You
Well,
just,
look at Cynthia's reaction. She said it
mhm,
made her more grateful,
yes.
so
Yeah.
that's lovely. I had no idea. I thought I was writing a great story that had some personal growth in it, but that people are relating it to their own lives and their own loves. I'm crazy about that. That's wonderful.
That's awesome. So, yeah, so my question is,
Mhm.
as the therapist, now put your therapist hat back on. Why is that? Why do people not want to have the personal growth? What have you concluded as you've observed over the years that we want to avoid that part of us when we know when really I think everybody knows deep inside things would be better, but
Mhm.
what is it that holds them back?
I, Ken asked me a similar question when he was interviewing me, and he said, "You can't use the word fear." he said, "He said every time he's asked this question, everybody said fear," and I said, "Okay, I can't use that word." Um, so I think, darling, that we've all learned to avoid what hurts. And as you know, in our personal growth work, sometimes it hurts. It really does. Sometimes it's hard to face the truth in what we've done for less than loving reasons. But it's very important if we are ever to come into right alignment with ourselves, that mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, we are forgiving of ourselves, forgiving of others. We come into a peace where all of those things are compatible now, and and that's extremely important. But in an unaware society, the best thing to do is avoid or blame others or align with a cause that we may think we believe in that expresses our anger because we don't want to take responsibility for ourselves, you see? And I think that that is just too easy to do. And I think that's what people, that's a default here in the world. I think that um, also we are talking about an esoteric journey. And I think that it's much too easy for people to say, oh, there's no such thing when their minds are closed to that. And there is such a thing, but it doesn't happen in the closed mind where nothing can get in or out. You know, the closed mind will keep you safe,
Mhm.
according to the ego child's mind, but it's no way to live as far as I'm concerned. So, way I feel about it is, I'm here for anybody who, and I've just done a podcast on gratitude. My job, a lot of times on these podcasts, is to just make people think differently, about themselves, open their minds a little bit to something beyond. And but I'll never convince anybody of anything until they experience it themselves. So what I'm trying to do always is give people a little more courage to do that, to
Mm,
experience a little more so they can see it for themselves.
so
They
good.
can feel it for themselves.
Yeah. Oh, so good, Martha. Oh, I love this. I love that um, you are out there really trying to help people just experiencing a little bit. Like you're not trying to knock them over the head. Boom, come on,
Mm-mm.
wake up. But that you're just like, hey, have you considered this? Love it. Love it.
Well, that's really all it is, isn't it? Because it is our personal journey. And
Mhm.
it is an effort, isn't it? It is. I mean, we may be finding it just fascinating, this discovery of self. And by the way, in the discovery of self, the discovery of everybody else. But the truth of the matter is, it really is our journey. So people have to prove it to themselves ultimately. I am thrilled that they say, I want to think like you. That's marvelous. I want to think like Zena. That's marvelous. The fact of the matter is, well, you have to go on a journey to think like yourself. We can just inspire.
Yes. And you had mentioned something earlier that sometimes this journey, there's pain along
Mhm.
the way. And
Isn't there? Yeah.
and that ourselves are trying to protect ourselves.
Yes.
Technically,
Yes. I think we have not learned necessarily that we're safe. We're safe in this moment. My favorite quote, and I used it this morning in my own podcast. My favorite quote is, everything is going to be okay if it's not okay. Everything's going to be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end. So you're going to it. So, let's just keep going,
Yeah, love that quote.
But the interesting thing is we stop along the way and then we say none of this works.
Right. We give up before we see, yes, because it takes time. I mean,
it does.
Yeah. It's not an overnight thing.
You said, what do you think is the problem? Well, honey, there's so many problems. I mean, this is an instantaneous world. We want things immediately, and personal growth and deeper levels of consciousness isn't that. It's just not.
Right. No, and along the way, we also will lose a lot of what we've been familiar with too.
Mm-hmm.
Which is also a natural process. Sometimes we may lose
a natural process. Yes, exactly.
And so you're right. It can be like, I don't want to change what I have. I don't want to lose the friends that I have. I don't want to change what I'm doing. And so I think you're right. And that moment, it's an interesting thing, Martha. I have found, and let me know if this is what your observation has been. I found that we all experience pain, whether we try to avoid it or not. We all have something in our lives that come unexpectedly, and we can either use the pain to retreat, or we can use that pain to move forward. But from that point on, there's certain things that you can't stay stagnant. There's certain things, pain in life that happen that you have to either go this way or this way, but there's not really much staying the same. And so we have the choice in that moment what we're going to do.
Yes. I think that life is full of those moments of decision about what we're going to do with things. The interesting thing to me is, if you do not move, and one of my favorite quotes about God is an infinite and ever-changing set of truths, always in motion. So if we are not moving with that, if we're not cooperative with that, it causes a great deal of anxiety, because our own bodies say this, you can't stay here. You can't stay here. And it makes us sick, ultimately, sometimes, when we do not listen to ourselves and we do not move on that. But here's the interesting thing. When people start working on that too, guess what it causes? The change itself causes anxiety. But which is the better anxiety, and which is the one that's going to take us somewhere and eventually go away? You see, it is always the movement. God is ever moving. So we must go with, and part of it is bringing up what is really bothering us and resolving it in our minds and hearts and cells, and moving on.
Yeah, it is definitely interesting. God is always looking for us to absolutely move and change, because we are, we've been created in the likeness of His image, and and many of us have forgotten what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to get back to that restored state, realizing this is what we were created to be and live and do. So yeah, God Himself is never changing. He's always been that, but He's helping us to really get to that place. And what a journey we are all on.
It is really amazing. This is such a journey, and I'm so glad that you're doing this work as well, Zena. This is just fabulous. When you say we are created in God's image, people really don't know what that means. You do, of course. It is that we're all energy. We are the energy of God, known as Zena, known as Martha, known as Cynthia, known as every listener there. And it is the energy. God said, I am that I am. We are the who I am of God, of that energy. But it is, it is the energy is where it is. So what does that mean to us when we are involved in the outer and material things all of the time, instead of sensitive and aware of what our energy is doing in the moment, and whether it's even whether we are looking at ourselves through another's eyes instead of really being who we are right in this moment. I mean, there's such power in that, and we find ourselves constantly challenged in this world to be and to think of outer things as powerful, but the real resource is you and all your listeners, and that's just the way it is, and it will never change, and that's God.
It's amazing, isn't it? Just amazing.
Mhm.
And I love that, like I said, that you are out there and you are, I could tell, a very high energy person. Um,
Unless you see me in the afternoons. And if I don't have a cup of coffee about 4 or 5 o'clock, it's not a pretty sight.
but I love that you are just constantly looking to go. There's people who like they think this is the American dream maker show. So part of the American dream for a lot of people is to, okay, I'm going to work really hard until I get to retirement, and then I'm just going to chill and relax, and that's it. Just enjoy life and not worry about anything else. But I love the fact that you are going beyond that, in that you're like, I am going to continue to pour out and impact lives and enjoy this place in my life that I can write books and still coach and do all of these things. And when you enjoy what you do, I don't think you're looking towards retirement
Mhm.
because you're enjoying it too much. Is
Yeah,
that
exactly. And I think that we are, I love the name of your shows, it's so exciting. But I think that the American dream for me is the fact that we are in a huge country where I can play with my career. I mean, for heaven's sakes. And in writing, there's no age discrimination at all. Ken didn't care how old I was. He just wants me to write good books, and put puzzles together. And it's we're so lucky to be here. There are countries that are considerably smaller than we are, and countries that are very oppressed, and you don't have that opportunity to to discover yourself and to change and to explore. And here you do. And particularly in the arts, you do. And I was very lucky to grow up the way I did, because you do. You learn to reinvent yourself every audition.
that's a great perspective to put out there when you're in the arts, that you can pretty much change whatever it is you want to be, for the moment or whatever it is.
It really is true. And you know what I love about art? Now, I always would tell this to, I used to have an acting school and teach acting classes. And I would say, here you are never going to be wrong. I can't say you're going to ever be wrong if you're expressing yourself. I will suggest better and better ways to do it, perhaps, but wrong, I will never say that. And you can't say anything is wrong. You may not prefer it. You may not like it very much. It may not appeal to you. It may be offensive to you, but wrong,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not wrong.
And I grew up, so definitely living the American dream. My parents immigrated from Vietnam, so I was just a baby when we
Wow. How
yeah,
old were you when you say you were just a baby?
I was a year old when I
A
set foot in
year
American.
old. Wow. Wow. That's a different perspective, isn't it?
Yes, very
Yeah.
much so.
Yeah.
And they ended up, for the majority of 20 years of their life, they ended up in a hippie town, Flagstaff, which I find very interesting that that's where I grew up. And it and here I grew up, kind of that I guess, where my parents were very traditional Vietnamese, but they tried to integrate some American things, but they were mostly Vietnamese. And here I was, an American kid, and I was an American kid. Like friends, were
Yeah.
Americans, wanted to do things that they wanted to do. My parents didn't really care about prom. Like they wanted to be home at midnight. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Why? Nobody comes home at midnight on prom. And of course they're like, Vietnamese girls do.
Exactly. There is such a cultural difference. So my husband can't understand Halloween, and I love Halloween. It spooks him out. Seriously, pun intended. It spooks him out. He doesn't get it.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun, and that is part of the American life, is that we can blend our cultures in the differences. And you're right. This is the country where people still today want to be Americans, want to come to America. There is no other country that you really can go from zero, starting over at zero and making something out of yourself if you put the work into it.
That's right.
The opportunities that have been presented to us as Americans, there's none other like it. And the world knows it. That's why people are trying to cross the borders, all the time, because they want the land of milk and honey, basically. I know we're not the land of milk and, but you know what I'm saying.
Yes. We're not perfect, but we do have opportunities here that are amazing.
Yes.
And you Ken asked too, what stops us? And I say us. We stop ourselves. But really, I mean, that's I'm trying to remember this. You made me think of an old radio show that I heard one time as I was channel surfing, and a man was trying to help a man who had been laid off. And I think this was in about 2008, when that big recession, he had been laid off. And he called in for help to this consumer advocate, and it was on the radio. And the consumer advocate kept suggesting he try this, he tried that, he tried this. And he kept going back into the past and said, well, it used to be like this. It used to be. Well, where is your mind? You could just hear he wanted it the way it was, and it's never going to be the way it is. This moment is never the way it has never happened again. My husband and I often laugh and say, this moment's never going to come again. Us sitting here in these clothes, in this place, in this underwear, it will never happen again. And it's true. Each moment is different. It's different. It's not going to repeat itself. And if we are repeating things, we're living by rote, and that's not really living.
Right. That's perspective. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Woo. You are full of dynamite gems and nuggets here, Martha. That's amazing.
Well, I'm full of something. Now, that's what my husband does say. He does say that.
Now, you're still coaching, right? You're still actively coaching.
Oh, yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So if somebody's interested when they watch this and they want to coach with Martha, how would they go about getting a hold of you, Martha?
Well, you can certainly get hold of me through my website, which is marthanovak.com. Okay. And you can certainly contact me through email even, which is martha@marthanovak.com. It'll be on the site.
I'm going to put that up here, the marthanovak.com, because I'd like for our viewers to be able to have that for future reference here. And we'll get that scrolling a bit there, marthanovak.com, bloodmountainbook.com, bloodmountainbook.com, marthanovak.com. You guys, seriously, get in contact with Martha, because she is a dynamite wealth of knowledge and wisdom and experience. And you can tell she is a sweet spirit. She's
sweetie, thank you. That means more than anything. Thank you. I feel the same way about you.
Thank you.
I can't wait until you're a neighbor. up here.
Me either. I can't wait to go, hang out on the mountain with you and be inspired by the mountains that inspired you.
Oh, I can't wait to show you around. We'll have a marvelous time. Really, we will. We'll have to plan several days, though. I think you and your husband are going to have to come to stay in the guest room because there's so much to see up here, not just enjoying the lake, but these little towns are just fascinating around here.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to take you up on that for sure, Martha. So
good.
I really enjoy this time. This time always goes by so quickly for me because the conversations that are had on these podcasts, I'm like, it just not enough time. But I know we got to get to Thanksgiving. So before we close up, I do want, just give you the opportunity to share with us what are you most grateful for in your life as you kind of look through 2024? What was the thing in 2024 or even beyond 2024 that you would say has really seared in your heart with gratitude?
I'm going to answer that, but let me say one time I was talking to a dear friend of mine who has now passed away, who was quite the wordsmith. And I asked him what his favorite words were and what his unfavorite words were, and he could not answer the question because he loved all words. I'm that way about that question. And what is there not to be grateful for? I mean, seriously, when you say what you're grateful for, you have to go, well, is there another side to that? What am I not grateful for that it lies in juxtaposition to? The fact is, I'm grateful for everything. Certainly, I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for my new little puppy who's crazy as a loon, little Pipsy Rosalie. She's a Cavapoo, 10 weeks old, so cute. My family, my husband, my health, my friends, and the relationships that are deepening every single hour that pass. The beautiful, beautiful, gorgeous mountains that have been here. We have a mountain here that's one of the oldest in the world. It's called Whiteside, and they think it might be up to 490 million years old.
Wow.
It is just, what's there not to be grateful for? Let's just be grateful for it all. Even if you don't I just did a podcast this morning. It's on Facebook Live on gratitude. And even if you're not grateful, why don't you change the momentum of that and just act like you are until you are, because what you're not doing is seeing all the things to be grateful for. So you've got to open that mind to actually see, I was working with a client the other day who is always a bit down in the mouth. And I said, okay, tell me about what your life would look like if you made it. What is it? What does a person have if she's made it? And she described something. And I said, that is your life, isn't it? And she went, oh my God, that's my life. I said, now it's on to the next thing. Come on, let's stop, just rehashing the same story over and over again. Let's go to something else.
Great advice. And that's just very appropriate as we look at Thanksgiving, because Thanksgiving is a time that sometimes it's stressful for people because, not everybody finds peace and calm getting together with family.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's true. But it isn't about, in my book, it's not about whether the person sitting in front of you is lovable. Mm-hmm. It's about whether you're love. Right. And I think that's what we are. Mm-hmm. So if we need to shorten that period of time with them, we should, so that we can preserve the love that we have for them. You understand? Yeah. I don't think this is you have to spend 6 hours with your family if they're making you feel uncomfortable. I think you're in charge of your time and you are loved. So do what you need to do to continue to love them, which might be not seeing them at all and going out to a restaurant. Who knows?
Great advice. That's great advice. But also I think too many times we focus on the things that frustrate us.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God, politics are going to change for the throughout our lives. And we're going to have countries that hate us, and the next moment they'll love us because they can get something out of us, and the next moment they'll hate us again. What are we doing if that is why we argue at a Thanksgiving table? I mean, for heaven's sakes, nothing is, to me, worth the argument. We just have to love each other and go on, and steer away from certain topics if they are hot topics. Why fight?
Absolutely. And then focus, like you said, the gratitude. There is always something to be grateful for.
Oh, I think it's a gift. Yeah.
Because no matter how crazy your family may appear, they are also the reason why you are the person you are today. And that is enough to be grateful for. You know what? I'm grateful for that crazy uncle. I'm grateful for, because
I had one of those too.
I think everybody has, somebody, but we learn from each other constantly. If there's always a lesson to learn, if you look for that lesson.
Yes.
And it's everyone. So they're either there, when they come across your life, when you cross paths in our life here, there's a reason. We have a lesson to learn from each other, and we can choose to reject it, or we can embrace those lessons and allow it to make us the person that we are in this moment. And so, I love that you say that what isn't there to be grateful for, because it's true. No matter who it is, some people are easier to love and some people are more difficult, but it doesn't matter, because we are grateful. We should still be grateful that they are a part of our lives, because they are who make us who we are today. And Martha, you are a lovely woman, and I'm so grateful that Ken introduced us, and that
me too.
And that I have a feeling we're going to have a lifetime of laughs and stories and more sharing. So thank you.
I agree with you. And I can't wait for you to get up here. This is so happy that you're coming to North Carolina. North Carolina is a beautiful place. You'll just love it. And what a culture shock from Arizona. But you're going to enjoy it thoroughly, I promise. We'll make sure you do.
Thank you so much. And happy Thanksgiving to you.
And to you and to all the listeners today. Thank you. And to Cynthia, too, and all of you. Thank you so much. And thank you for your support of Blood Mountain. It means the world to me. And I hope you enjoyed the book and can't guess the bad guy.
Yes, I'm going to enjoy the book. And absolutely, you guys, go out there. I know you're going to do some Black Friday shopping, but get on Amazon and put this on your list for Christmas gifts, because
this is a real easy Christmas gift. It's a no-brainer. If anybody likes to read, this is a great book.
Yeah, absolutely. Now that you know the author, you definitely want to get this book, because wow, the inspiration behind the words is incredible.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I'm going to say goodbye for now. Happy Thanksgiving, and we will chat real soon.
Yes.
Thank you, American Dream Makers, for being here today. And please share this out. If you're watching this on the replay, absolutely share this out and get your copy of Blood Mountain book. It is going to be a very good book. I've already heard great things about it. So you do not want to miss out, and give this gift for sure. And we want to say happy Thanksgiving to all of our listeners and viewers, and thank you for your support. And we are going to resume in 2025 with new guests and new topics and all of that. So stay tuned. American Dream Makers, go out there and live that American dream and help others to live it and go beyond as well. Have a great one, everyone.